Boner? Here. Brennan? Here. Case? Present. Cooper? Here. Crago? Here. Crum? Here. Dockstetter? Here. Driscoll? Here. French? Here. Guru? Here. Hicks? Here. Hutchings? Here. Ide? Here. Jones? Here. Cole? Present. Landon? Here. Larson? Here. McEwen? Here. Nethercott? Here. Olson? Here. Pappas? Here. Pearson? Here. Rothfuss? Here. Salazar? Here. Schuler? Here. Scott? Here. Smith? Here. Steinmetz? Here. President Beitman?
Here.
Mr. President, 31 present.
Thanks, Ellen. Today's chaplain of the day is Brother Nathan Galloway from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Cheyenne. Please rise for the prayer today.
Our kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we pray today for thy blessing upon this body. Please bless our elected officials, the senators here in the chamber. Please bless the staff that supports them. Bless them with wisdom, Father. Bless them with decorum. Bless them to keep the best interest and the rights of the citizens of Wyoming at heart. Bless them to preserve and strengthen the freedoms that we enjoy as Americans. Father, please bless the other state leaders who are assembled and working diligently, that we can function under thy grace and freedom. Please bless our great nation. Please bless all of those who are making decisions and trying to steer our country in a righteous direction. Above all, Father, please bless the members of this body with thy choicest blessings in their duties, tasks, and responsibilities. Bless them to honor the trust that their constituents have placed upon them. Father, we give thee all thanks for thy graciousness, for our great country, for the Constitution of the United States and the state of Wyoming, the freedoms that are guaranteed therein. We say these things and we ask for these many blessings, thy continued support and guidance. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Majority Leader Nethercott, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you, Brother Galloway, for joining us this morning and offering your prayers to us and leading us in prayer. And we appreciate you coming down to the Senate. And please don't be a stranger, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you much.
Yeah, Senator Dockstetter, the floor is yours.
Career, a lot of service. Part of this military career here in Wyoming, and he's with the Guard and with he's served in many areas and taken on many responsibilities with the military. And a word about his family. His family, he comes from a family that's a work ethic family. Our timber industry on the west side of the state was put together essentially by his father and his family. So it's good Wyoming stock. Thank you.
Reading, correction, and approval of journal. Will the reading clerk please read the journal committee report?
Mr. President, your journal committee reports that the journal of February 20, 2025 has been read and recommends that it be approved. Senator Crum, Chairman.
Thank you. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the report is adopted. All right. Hey, we have not only one doctor of the day, but we have, what, 1 1/4, 1 2/2, whatever we have. We have 1 doctor of the day and 2 soon-to-be doctors of the day. Come on down, let's recognize them. We have Rob Munger, MD. Dr. Munger is a rheumatologist here in Cheyenne and is also the clinical dean of Wyoming WWAMI Medical Education. And student doctors of the day, Samantha Britz from Wheatland. Samantha is a 4th-year medical student from Wheatland. And Shani Bauer is a 3rd-year medical student from Thermopolis. Please give them a warm Senate welcome. You know, this, as customary here, we give out these fancy, recognition certificates. So Shani, this one's for you. Thank you. So you remember your stay here. Hopefully it'll be an uneventful day, but as doctors, you never know what's going to be coming, especially with Guru in the house. Well, he's not even here, so God only knows what trouble he's getting into right now. So Samantha, thank you very much. And once again, thank you for all you do. Good luck to you too on your future career. We hope you stay here in Wyoming and put down some roots, and we'll be having you here many years from now as doctors of the day. So thank you for coming.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate you. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, Senator Rothfuss.
Mr. President, may I have the privilege of the floor?
Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, in the balcony up above you, we have a group of students from the University of Wyoming MBA program observing the Senate today. I'd ask that they stand, and I'd ask that the Senate welcome them. Welcome
right.
to the Wyoming Senate.
Yeah. All right, welcome to the Senate. All right. Oh, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one more. I noticed that there's been a movement in the happy birthday balloon towards a certain senator, my good friend in the back corner over there, the great Senator Bill Landon. And I believe the reason that that balloon is on his desk along with the flowers is because it is his birthday today, Senator Landon. Perhaps the Senate could, and the good Senator Barlow here, could lead us in a round of happy birthday, Senator Landon.
Okay. Happy birthday to
you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear.
speech.
Privileged Mr. President.
I would expect nothing less.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for that. I've spent my birthday with many of you for many years now, and I can't think of a better way to do it. The Wyoming Senate becomes your family. The fights we have in here are with pillows, and the bonds that we forge are from now on. And so from the heart, thank you. I'm just glad to make another one at this point, so that's a good thing. Mr. President, thank you for allowing me to spend the day with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Well, Senator, you're a class act, and we have a gift every day of getting to serve with you. You're going to be a legend in this body forever. And they don't make them like you anymore, Senator. And we appreciate you every day. Today in Wyoming history, 1956, Senator Bill Landon was born in Riverton, Wyoming. Bill Landon Day in the Senate. Quote for the day: Friday is a day to finish your goals for the week. And a special dad joke of the day. This was submitted by a good friend of mine who's up in the balcony up there above me. What state has the most roads? Rhode Island. Eli Bruner, will you please stand up? This was Eli's joke. Give him a hand. And I would like to recognize the rest of the Bruner family. If you'd please stand. Mary and Dottie and Selah. Give them from Gillette, Wyoming. And with them is Sawyer Poitra, too. So Sawyer, wave. Welcome to the Senate, everybody. It's good to see some friendly faces from back home. Senator Hicks.
Mr. President, privilege of the floor.
The floor is yours.
Mr. President, I was just wondering if my colleague from the county of Johnson, who likes to fight with the Cheyenne cattle mafia down here, if he knows anybody that was ever Miss Rodeo, Wyoming, and if he does, could he share that with us?
Oh, that's a darn good question, Senator Crago.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do. That would be my mother, Linda
Oh.
Johnson, who's up in the gallery again
What?
today. So. We won't say what year.
2005, I believe it was. I may be mistaken. All right, today is the last day for our very own Senate student Paige Lucas Legler, a senior from Powell High. Lucas, come on up so we can give you your farewell address here and send you off to your bright future. So Lucas, the floor is yours.
Alrighty. When I was told last week on Monday that I had to give a speech, my first thought was, oh no. Because I get real nervous in front of people, and especially in front of an elected body of Wyoming. And to help with that, Senator Hutchings mentioned that the last two pages, one of them played the flute and the other one sang. And I am not musically talented, and I don't feel like making your ears bleed today, so. First, I want to thank you guys and the staff for giving me the opportunity to do this and confirming me on that first day. And I also want to thank the Pages for teaching me how to file all the files and helping correct a couple of times when I made a mistake or two, and that was a real help. Probably the biggest thing that I learned here was how the process actually gets done. A lot of times, like, I went to Boise State and I've read about it, but it's different to read about it and to actually be here on the floor as the debate happens and the third readings go through and concurrences and whatnot. What I also learned was a lot of history about this building too, like the several editions that I've done in, I think, 1917, 1890, 1867, all those. And that's really cool to be in a historic building like this that has had so much happen in it. And I also learned that the president has a favorite committee. I believe it's number 9, minerals. And one of the nice things about being over here in the Senate was I was worried that I was going to be serious all the time, and that anytime that I had to try and keep a straight face, it was always going to be because I disagreed with someone or I was rooting for someone. But there were times where it was just because you guys were being funny and making jokes, which was real nice. Like, no one's mentioned that Senator Landon has a little otter on his desk that appeared about 2 days ago. And Senator Guru, the other day, I asked him about his broken arm, and he said that his boxing career was finally starting to come back into play. So, and then as far as what I plan to do from here on in my life, I want to go to Northwest College first and finish up an associate's in engineering. And then after Northwest College, I plan to finish up a bachelor's in either civil or mechanical engineering, either at UW or otherwise, whichever works. And then from there, I hope I can stay in Wyoming for engineering, but I'm not sure that's gonna happen depending on what the industry may be looking like and what they need. But I also wanted to call out a couple of you guys for being for having something that I thought was special. So Senator Hutchings, although you gave me a hard time about the speech, you were very pleasant to get along with, and I never had any sort of uncomfortable interactions with any of you guys, but Senator Hutchings was above and beyond pleasant. Senator Larson, you've been very generous. You invited me to the governor's prayer breakfast. You offered to reach out to Senator Barrasso about an internship, even though that didn't quite work out, but that was also very appreciated too. Senator Guru, you have been working for a little while with a broken arm, and gotta be kind of tough to do that because I've seen a couple times where you took out of the sling and it was hurting, but you're still here, so. And thank you to President Beitman for introing me on that first day and giving me this the Great Seal of Wyoming pin. The other lapel pin I had was maybe not as politically blind, so it was nice to have something that looks nice and can't be construed one way or another. Also want to say thank you to Senator Dockstader. There were a couple times where I was filing bills and he was still over there, and I asked him if he could move over like an inch or two, and usually he got up and just left, which I'm not sure I had to do that, but it's appreciated that he was always nice and let me do what I need to do, and then it all worked out. Senator Brennan, although she's not here, I thought it was really cool to see her kids in here a couple times when the legislature was. Oh, there you are. You're just not in your seat. It was cool to see her kids come in a couple of times. I'm pretty sure I saw one or two help her out with a little bit of paperwork, and that was nice to see as well. I also want to give a shout out to the biggest baseball fan in the chambers, Senator Case, who gives us live updates on his favorite team. And then Senator McEwen and Senator Anderson, you guys there have been times where the debate gets a little bit intense, and you guys have helped cut through the tension with a little bit of humor, and that always helps and makes things a little bit less stressful. So, well, thank you guys. That's all I've got, so I'll get back to work.
All right. You get your fancy award now, and your fancy coin. And thank you, Lucas. You've been a pleasure to work with. I can't believe it's been 2 weeks already. It flew by. And please come back and visit. We've had pages come back and visit us or become aides or interns. So think about that too.
All right.
Don't be a stranger around here,
Yeah.
kid. Thank you. One more round of applause. There you go. What, those Powell Panthers, they're cranking out some talent. Yeah. Okay, gang. Today's the deadline for interim topic submissions. Please submit your proposed topics using the form on the website no later than 5 p.m. today. As a reminder, suggested topics may originate from any source, but the topic must be submitted and presented to joint committees by a legislator. All members who have a suggested topic submitted under their name will be provided an opportunity to object to any of the topics prior to the list being forwarded to a committee. So please watch your inbox over the weekend for details. Joint committees will begin meeting next week to discuss proposed topics. So 5 p.m. deadline on interim topics. And that takes care of that. Signing of enrolled acts. Don't do it. Somebody's going to motion to adjourn here, it sounds like. Senate Enrolled Act number 21.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 21, being original Senate File 168, an act relating to public funds.
I am about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 21, being original Senate File 168. I have so signed. House Enrolled Act number 18.
House Enrolled Act Number 18, being original House Bill 166, an act relating to the administration of the government.
I am about to sign House Enrolled Act number 18, being original House Bill 166. I have so signed. House Enrolled Act number 19.
House Enrolled Act Number 19, being original House Bill 214, an act relating to cities, towns, and counties.
I'm about to sign House Enrolled Act number 19, being original House Bill 214. I have so signed. House Enrolled Act number 20.
House Enrolled Act Number 20, being original House Bill 40, an act relating to sales and use tax.
I'm about to sign House Enrolled Act number 20, being original House Bill number 40. I have so signed. And House Enrolled Act number 21.
House Enrolled Act Number 21, being original House Bill 17, an act relating to career technical education equipment grants for K-12 public school districts.
Thank you. I'm about to sign House Enrolled Act number 21, being original House Bill 17. I have so signed. Messages from the House.
From the House of Representatives, Mr. President, the following messages were dated February 20, 2025. Message number 334, concurrence passed. Mr. President, the House did concur on Senate amendments to House Bill number 132, annual permits for specified commercial loads. Ayes 49, noes 4, excused 9. Message number 335, concurrence passed. Mr. President, the House did concur on Senate amendments to House Joint Resolution 1, amending Wyoming's Act of Admission for Earnings. Ayes 55, excused 7. Message number 332, concurrence failed. Mr. President, the House failed to concur on Senate amendments to House Bill 199, Wyoming Freedom Scholarship Act. Ayes 14, noes 41, excused 7. Message number 333, conferees appointed. Mr. President, the House appointed House conferees to meet with a like committee number 1 from the Senate on amendments to House Bill 199. House conferees are Representative Andrew, Chairman, Representative Lawley, and Representative Strzok. Message number 336, conferees appointed. Mr. President, the House appointed House conferees to meet with a like committee number 1 from the Senate on amendments to Senate File 33. House conferees are Representative Pendergraft, Chairman, Representative Filer, and Representative Yin. Message number 337, conferees appointed. Mr. President, House appointed House conferees to meet with a like committee number 1 from the Senate on amendments to Senate File 69. House conferees are Representative Locke, Chairman, Representative Heiner, and Representative Knapp. Signed, Katie Talbot, House Chief Clerk.
Thank you, Randy. Joint Conference Committee reports. All right, who's first here? I don't have the, oh, it's right here. Okay, Joint Conference Committee report referencing House Message number 313.
Joint Conference Committee report referencing House Message 313 on Senate File 77, compelled speech is not free speech. Signed, Representatives Andrew, Chestek, and Lean. Senators Hutchings, Boner, and Grew.
Senator Hutchings, are you ready on Joint Conference Committee number 1 on Senate File 77?
Yes, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the Joint Conference Committee Report number 313 to Senate File 077 and ask for an aye vote. I'd like to first of all thank the members of the committee. We went in and simply deleted the House amendment, brought the bill back to the Senate position, and everybody agreed, so I'd like an aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? The motion is that the Senate do adopt the Joint Conference Committee report referencing Senate File 77 and vote aye. The Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Joint Conference Committee report, JC01 to Senate File 77. Anderson? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Boner? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? No. Cooper? Aye. Crego? Aye. Crum? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. French? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? Aye. Jones? Aye. Kolb? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Olson? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Pearson? Aye. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Smith? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Beitman?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. On the Joint Conference Committee Report 1 to Senate File 77, 29 aye, 2 no.
By your vote, you have adopted the Joint Conference Committee Report number 1, the Senate File 77. Senator Hutchings.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick privilege. Just wanted to thank the body. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your hard work. Okay, looks like we have a concurrence request. Senator Pappas, are you ready on message number 323? Looks like it deals with Senate File 32.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President.
I'll have the reading clerk read it in real quick here.
Message number 323, concurrence requested. Mr. President, Senate File 32 passed on third reading in an amended form. House Bill or Senate File 32, unpaved roads, speed limits amendments. Ayes 48, noes 13, excused 1.
All right, Senator Pappas.
Thank you, Mr. President. The changes that were made on this unpaved road speed limit bill down at the other end of the building looks fairly lengthy in your concurrence report, but I'll just boil it down real quickly. I think they did some good work, and I'm going to urge you to go ahead and vote for it. Basically, this addresses the desires that the association that represents our county engineers and road superintendents and the association that represents our county commissioners, that they have the authority to reduce current unpaid speed limit maximums of 45, from 55 to 45 without doing a speed study. However, they will have to have consultation of the appropriate road and law enforcement authorities. Furthermore, it gives them authority, if warranted, to do temporary reductions of 90 days if a speed study is conducted internally or with a private contractor, or for 12 months if conducted by the University of Wyoming Technology Transfer Center. And this option is a little longer because of the free option for the counties. Both options require consultation with the appropriate road and law enforcement authorities. And once the speed study is completed, counties have 30 days to establish a permanent speed limit on the road study. So they did a lot of work down there. All the associations are happy with what came out of it, so I urge your aye vote.
All right, thank you, Senator. Discussion? Yes, Senator Barlow.
Thank you, Mr. President. So my query on it, first of all, I don't think there was actually a motion on the message, so that'll be just as a point of order. But my query is, it seems like when the bill left here, we had said we do not want a speed study to be required, and now when I read in this report, page 2, line 19, it's saying they have to do a speed study in accordance with the rules. So it seems like for that fundamental issue, am I incorrect in seeing that it is actually the opposite of the position as it left this body? Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Anybody else? Senator Hicks.
Yeah, Mr. President, just to pile on, I think that is absolutely correct. We wanted to inject a little common sense. You know, you have your local county road and bridge and your sheriff's department, and all this can be determined, but now we've said, no, you got to do a study. That's not what we sent out of here. We've brought all of this bureaucratic requirements back to overcome common sense. I guarantee you that those local road and bridge people and those local sheriff departments are more than capable of going out and making a determination without having to go through the University of Wyoming or a full-blown highway study with a consultant that can cost thousands and thousands of dollars and take years to complete those studies. So I would encourage that you vote no on concurrence on this, and let's take it back to what the Senate's position was just a little common sense.
Any further discussion before the sponsor? Senator Rothfuss.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I voted against the Senate position, and I don't know that I like this position any better. It seems to go too far the other way. But I do have a question, Mr. Chairman. As I read this, the only decision that is like freely allowed is to lower a speed limit from 55 to 45. Nothing else is allowed. If the speed limit happened to be 50, you couldn't lower it to 45. If you decided that it was appropriate to lower it to 30, you couldn't do that either. I don't know that the House did great work on this one. And even though I didn't like the first bill, yeah, I think I like this one less, Mr. President. I'd be a no here.
All right. All right. Senator Kolb.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. On against the concurrence. This has nothing to do, this looks like nothing that we had spoken about during the interim. The interim topic was quite clear. This has turned out to be, I don't know, I'd say at least what we had before, roughly. I mean, about the same. We were trying to give more authority to the people that know the roads best, which is the Board of County Commissioners. And the request was originally that we had a situation where somebody wanted to lower it to 35 and had a problem trying to do that without a speed study. So this whole conversation started from that. Now, this doesn't even address that. I mean, it gives you a little bit more time to get a speed study, but I guess one up for the engineers on and against the concurrence.
Okay. All right. Senator Pappas, could you restate the motion? I'm not sure if you did make a motion. You might have, and I didn't write it down. Oh, you bet. Senator Rothfuss. Hold on tight, Senator Pappas. Senator Rothfuss.
Oh, he needs to make the motion, actually. I suppose that's
Yeah.
in order. I'll step away, yeah.
All right. Back to you, Senator Pappas.
Yeah, thank you. I move concurrence on message number 323 pertaining to Senate File 32, unpaved roads, speed limits, amendments, and urge your aye vote.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, Senator Rothfuss. It's
Thank
on
you,
your
Mr.
mind,
President.
sir.
Presumably for my first time.
Point of order.
But hopefully my last. Mr. President, one other thing I want to point out, and this is a concern that I think will come back up. This amendment does not seem germane to the original title of the bill. And I'm going to restate that. It does not seem germane to the original title of the bill. We're going to have to pay attention to that. And when you read the plain language of the original bill, whether you like the bill or not, as I didn't, at least the amendments that come over, I think our chamber needs to hold that other chamber responsible for operating within the title of the bill. Here's a great time for that. This is a good time for us to set an example and let the House know that because the amendment is stated in the English language, it is germane, is not an acceptable standard for the Senate.
Okay, Senator Pappas, bring us home.
And the reason for the aye vote that I requested is because the two associations worked on this over there. The association that represents our county engineers and road superintendents, and the association that represents our county commissioners, and they're both asking to support this amendment. I'll let you vote your conscience. If you tell me no, I'll go down there and stick to our position. So, and I'm glad to do that. Thank you.
All right. The motion is that the Senate do concur on Senate File 32 and vote aye. Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Concurrence roll call vote, Senate File 32. Anderson? No. Barlow? No. Boner? No. Brennan? No. Case? No. Cooper? No. Crago? No. Crum? No. Dockstetter? No. Driscoll? No. French? No. Guru? No. Hicks? No. Hutchings? No. Ide? No. Jones? Jones? No. Cole? No. Landon? No. Larson? No. McEwen? No. Nethercott? No. Olson? No. Pappas? No. Pearson? No. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? No. Schuler? No. Scott? No. Smith? No. Steinmetz? No. President Beitman?
No.
No. Pappas? No to aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 32. 1 aye, 30 no.
Sorry. By your vote, you have failed to concur on Senate File 32. Senator Pappas, I applaud your honor, sir. All right. We'll get you a conference committee here later today. All right. Looks like Senator Steinmetz, you're up next. Message 330.
Message number 330, concurrence requested referencing Senate File 84, country of origin label USA beef.
All right, Senator Steinmetz, are you ready on message number 330 regarding Senate File 84?
Yes, I am, Mr. President. And I would move concurrence on message number 330, which is originally Senate File 84, country of origin beef labeling, and would ask the body to vote no. Fellow senators, if you remember, this was our good little bill to label beef that is born, raised, slaughtered, and processed in the United States of America. And they actually did some work on here that I think was a little confusing. They made a Wyoming process, which I am not opposed to, on page 2. However, the beef has to be born, slaughtered and processed, born, raised, slaughtered, and processed in the state of Wyoming. Mr. President, many people on the edges of the state have to take their beef to a USDA plant across state lines, and so this would prohibit them from labeling Wyoming beef when some of them currently do right now. So I'd like to go down the hall and visit with our colleagues about this, so I would ask that you vote no.
Discussion? All right. The motion is that the Senate do concur on Senate File 84 and vote no. Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Concurrence roll call vote, Senate File 84. Anderson? No. Barlow? No. Boner? No. Brennan? No. Case? No. Cooper? No. Crago? No. Crum? No. Dockstader? No. Driscoll? No. French? No. Baru? No. Hicks? No. Hutchings? No. Ide? No. Jones? No. Cole? No. Landon? No. Larson? No. McEwen? No. Nethercott? No. Olson? No. Pappas? Pearson? Pappas? Aye. Pearson? No. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? No. Schuler? No. Scott? No. Smith? No. Steinmetz? No. President Biden?
No.
No. Pappas, aye to no. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 84, 31 no.
By your vote, you have failed to concur on Senate File, what is this one? 84. All right. Senator Crum,
Privilege of the floor.
floor is yours, sir.
Mr. Chairman and the body of the Senate, I'd like to introduce one of Gem City's leading attorneys and great businessman and great community builder, Mitch Edwards from Laramie.
Welcome to the Senate. All right, let's see. Oh, Senator Steinmetz, looks like you have another one here. Message number 329. Have it read in, please.
Message number 329, concurrence requested, referencing Senate File 64. Wyoming opposes mandatory electronic ID devices, livestock.
All right, Senator Steinmetz, are you ready to go on Senate File, or message number 329 to Senate File 64?
Yes, Mr. President, I would move concurrence on message 329, Senate File 64, Wyoming opposes mandatory electronic ID devices and livestock, and ask you to vote aye. Mr. Chairman, if you remember, this was a good little bill where we're opposing the EID mandate from the USDA APHIS, and we gave some direction to our livestock board. They just did a little cleanup on the language about veterinarians. We had missed that in one of the titles of the subsections. And then they just simply rearranged the findings and the other part of the policy of the state. They put it in a different section, so it does the same thing. So I'd ask the Senate vote aye.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none. The motion is that the Senate do concur on Senate File 64 and vote aye. The Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Senate File 64, concurrence roll call vote. Anderson? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Boner? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? Case? No. Cooper? Aye. Crago? Aye. Crum? Aye. Dockstader? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. French? Aye. Baru? Aye. Hicks?
Aye.
Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? Aye. Jones? Aye. Culp? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Olson? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Pearson? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Smith? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Beitman?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 64, 30 aye, 1 no.
By your vote, you have concurred on Senate File 64. All right, reports from standing committees.
February 21, 2025. Mr. President, Committee Number 4, Education, to whom is referred House Bill 129, School Finance Dates for Funded Transfers, respectfully report same back to the Senate with a recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Senators Brennan, Olson, Rothfuss, and Schuler. Excuse, Senator Scott. Senator Schuler, Chairman.
Thank you, Randy. Bills on second reading. House Bill 5, second reading of the House Bill.
House Bill 5, Fishing Outfitters and Guides, Registration of Fishing Boats.
There is an amendment. Would the reading clerk please read it in?
House Bill 5, second reading amendment number 1 to engrossed copy, page 2, line 9, before stricken.
Uh-oh. Senator Landon, birthday boy's out there in the hallway. Senator Pappas, can you grab Senator Landon for me, please? Senator Landon, we are on second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 5.
Mr. President, my apologies. That's exactly what the good member of the Travel, Recreation, and Wildlife Committee and myself were talking about. So my apologies to the body. I would move second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 5. Fellow senators, this goes into the bill that we talked about yesterday, floating the rivers out across our state. And you might remember that a standing committee amendment struck some of the language out of that bill. It was a little bit tortured when it got here, and we're working hard to kind of get it into the kind of shape that we expect here in the Senate. So one of the things we did was to take a private landowner piece out of page 2, Mr. President. That was language that we just struggled with, and we weren't sure exactly what it was doing. But here's the situation up along the Platte River in my neck of the woods. We've got private landowners who actually do serve as guides at certain points during the year, and they float a boat to a specific location, which is private property, their own property. That's what this amendment attempts to do. I'm suggesting that we pull it back in there. There's a lot of concern over this back home. They'd like to see this language back in. I get the private landowner piece. I don't know if this completely fixes it, Mr. President. We've got plenty of work to do on this entire front as it works through the year and into the rules of the department. But I would ask that you support this, pull this language back in so that we at least acknowledge that private landowners have a little bit different situation up along those riverbanks. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Discussion? Senator Barlow.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I guess I'm a little interested in the way the terminology or the verbiage of this is on line 6 of the amendment, Mr. President. It talks about the person is guiding the fisherman to a location. Is guiding I just want to know, is guiding the correct word? Because that means they're using it like everybody else would. Or are they actually transporting the individual to private lands? And is the fishing going to be occurring on the water which I'm on the water, or is it being actually bank fishing from land? So those two questions just come to mind as I review the amendment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Barlow. Further discussion? Senator Hicks?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, and this was, it's very complicated, and I'm not sure it's very clear as to what this amendment does. I think my colleague from Campbell County, I don't know why we need this. It's a city, town, county, state, or other access point. So there were some complications with this. One of the things that we heard from testimony is if we include this, it becomes almost unenforceable from a standpoint that once that boat launches, you don't know whether they're going to private property or not. Does the game warden then have to go out and check the parking lot? And let's assume, because now it's going to require a sticker on your trailer and your boat. And if they go out there and they find a trailer that doesn't have a sticker on it, then they got to run the license plate. And then they have to go out and see whether that person's actually fishing through this section to get down to that section of private property. And so part of the testimony is we understand the intent. I think what we're trying to get to, it's probably unenforceable to put it in there. But let me also draw you one of the parallels to what this amendment effectively does. And so keep in mind, water's the property of the state, and we have jurisdiction over those waterways. So what this is effectively asking to do is to say, look, if I'm using a public parking place to park my boat and my vehicle, and I'm using a public boat ramp to launch that onto public waters and float through that, as long as I'm going down here to get to some private land, I don't have to pay the fee. Well, I know a whole bunch of private landowners in this state that have different parcels of land and they got to get out on the state highway. They still have to pay those fuel taxes to use that highway. They still have to pay those registration fees to put their vehicle out on those public highways. When I look at this in the big thing, they're still using the state's property to park on. Public property is defined here, or other. But if they're in one of those public parking areas and they're using these public boat ramps and they're creating part of the congestion on the public right-of-way, the water system, maybe they should have to pay a fee. I understand the concept here. We need to work on it a little bit. The other side of this, we've given the department rulemaking authority to deal with this. And I understand the issue absolutely clearly on the North Platte. That may not be the same issue on the New Fork or the Green or the Shoshone or the Bighorn River or all these others. I would rather let the advisory committee take this up, look at it in the interim, make a recommendation to the department, and then the department has the ability to promulgate rules on this. I think this is extremely problematic. I would ask that you defeat this amendment. Let's work this a little bit through the advisory committee and back to the commission. We need to come back another year from now and actually enact laws that go into the book. Let's do it then. But right now, I would recommend that you defeat this amendment.
Okay, thank you, Senator Hicks. Let's go over to Senator Jones.
Mr. President, in the meeting, I did question that because I thought they had told us that the Attorney General had suggested that that language in that paragraph would be allowed, that they didn't find a conflict with that. We're a Wyoming legislative body, and if we can't give a nod to Wyoming residents or Wyoming landowners, then I don't know who else is able to do that. So I did question that when we were taking that out of this bill. And so I do think that we could add that back in without a problem.
Okay, thank you, Senator Jones. Senator Dockstader.
Thank you, Mr. President. So look at this. This is a really good fit for my country out west. I see several scenarios where they start at such a ramp and then they go down to their own land. This honors the people who have the land. This is a good fit. Throw it into the interim. It's just a waste of time. We can correct it right now and ask the body's favorable support for this amendment.
Thank you, Senator. Anybody else for the sponsor? All right, back to you, Senator Landon.
Mr. President, thank you. Really appreciate that the conversation, and, you know, to my friend from Carbon County, oh yeah, that's he makes a very compelling argument as well. I think what this is an opportunity for us to tip our hat to the landowners who put up with all of this traffic day by day by day. They have some private property out there. They already have businesses that exist out there. I think we can pull this back in, continue to work on it, but this is a nod to our private property owners, and I think that's important, Mr. President. I hope you'll support the amendment. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We're voting on second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 5. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. No. Motion is carried. The amendment has been adopted. We are back on the bill. Discussion on the bill. House Bill 5 having been read 2 separate times. The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. House Bill 33, second reading of the House bill.
House Bill 33, Vehicle Sales and Use Tax Distribution Highway Fund.
There is an amendment. Would the reading clerk please read in the amendment?
House Bill 5, second reading amendment number 1 to engrossed copy, page 2, line 9, before.
Thank you. Senator Hicks.
Mr. President, I move second reading Amendment 1 to House Bill 33, and members, we had a great debate on this yesterday. I still think this is probably something we need to do, but I think we need to do it in a little bit of a moderation and ease our way in this. Members, what the amendment does is basically goes in, as the current bill says, we're going to take all of that funding, roughly $70 million a year, out of sales and use taxes. And the reason that was incorporated, because you have to take it out of both to get to the $72 million. Plus, it took the 1% administrative fee from the state of Wyoming to get there. If we adopt the section on page 3, line 1, that reduces that amount down to $25 million a year, you do not have to go in and take both sales and use taxes. That there's sufficient funds in both of those that you can just take the $25 million out of the use taxes. And so what that does, it eliminates the sales tax portion at $25 million. You no longer need to go into the sales tax. Part of the rationale for doing that is we had another bill that came out of this body that already took a significant amount of those sales tax. I'm cognizant of the fact that we don't know where that's at, but it's still active. That could create some competing problems associated with that. This would reduce it to $25 million, comes only out of the use tax, and then it goes in and puts a requirement on it. And this is on page 3, line 6. It says, this will only be used for the construction and maintenance of highways. The department shall report the expenditures distributed under this section no later than September 30th of each year to the Joint Interim Committee and the Joint Appropriations Committee. The reason that we use September 30th, because that's the end of the fiscal year for the federal government. And keep in mind, most of those funds that YDOT does through their construction and most of their programs are federal funds. So that date conforms with the federal budgetary cycle, not the state cycle. Mr. President, that's basically what the bill does. It says we're going to reduce it to $25 million. It's going to come only out of the use taxes, and it puts the duty on the department to report back exactly how those funds will be expended and limits them only for construction and maintenance. Stand for any questions.
Thank you, Senator Hicks. Discussion on the amendment. Senator Driscoll.
Mr. Chairman, unopposed. Probably has a decent look, but it gives no permanence to YDOT in any fashion. One time, halfway there. Probably the worst problem, and it may need to come back as a third, is there is no assurance at this point in time when you look at line 17, page 3, line 1, and he goes to $25 million on this. In no way is it assured that there's going to be $25 million coming in. That's just a pull out of the air, and it leaves it really in a bind. It leaves it unworkable, because we've actually specified a number. If it doesn't come in, it doesn't say up to $25 million, it says $25 million. Looking at past records, it's not necessarily there that that the 25 million is going to be there. So I think there's some holes in it. I'd encourage you to reject it and come back with something else that's more workable if it works. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Anderson.
Mr. President, on and against this amendment, this is just what we've done over the last 50-some years, is decrease on the highway fund, and so our highways are in the condition that they're in now. I do not want to decrease this. I think we have a good bill with sales and use tax. On and against the amendment.
Okay, let's go, holy cow. We'll work from my left to right. So Senator Barlow.
Thank you, Mr. President. So let's be clear, with this amendment or with the original bill, it's still an increase to highway funds. The question is it a perpetual increase that a subsequent legislature could come back and say, not right yet, or not continuing? Or is it this legislature saying, you know what, for our term, we're going to put some money in there, we're going to add some additional money. And the decrease, you're right, there is a decrease. It's to all the other things that the state of Wyoming funds with these dollars. So this is an increase. Even with the amendment, it's still $50 million more for the next 2 years. And I know that's not enough, but there are probably other solutions that this body and this state should be working on, not this one, because this does decrease funds elsewhere. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right. Senator Crum, I think you were next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I speak against the amendment and for the previous bill. As talked yesterday, we won't go through the big speech, but I really believe we need to keep our highways up to speed and keep them growing. They're the lifeblood of Wyoming, and we just need to vote for this amendment. And I do respect where the good senator from Carbon County is coming with the decrease due to our budget constraints. But if we don't spend money now, it'll cost us more next year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Pappas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, on and against the amendment as well. Yes, it is an increase. It's just not enough an increase. Even the original amount is not enough to keep us from deteriorating our roads, but at least it'll slow down the damage. And I believe that there's the ability to come back and change it, down the line if we think we find money other pockets or it's not like it is going to be a perpetual one, but it's not like we can't ever, some other legislature can't ever come back and change it. That certainly we have that ability to do that. I think that if we underfund it again, I heard my good senator from the Gillette area say that, we've got to find other ways. Well, I've been in this body for 10 years, and I've been looking for other ways, and the body has not been able to find another way. We have not agreed on any other way, and our roads and bridges are deteriorating. I also particularly don't care that we are limiting only for construction of horizontal construction and maintenance of highways, because there's other needs out there as well. I think the commission is doing a very good job of prioritizing where the money goes. I think we ought to put that ability back to the commission and not micromanage them. But if that portion of it is something that you want, I could certainly live with a division of this amendment. Thank you.
Anybody else? Senator Brennan, I see you. I see the top of your head anyway.
Thank you, Mr. President. On and for this amendment, in the discussion yesterday, we heard, and the body seemed to agree on two things. Roads are a priority. They're part of our infrastructure. But then the other argument is we're cutting taxes and spending money. And we got to be cognizant of how we do that and balance that out. And I think this amendment addresses both of those. It says, let's move forward in getting a little more for our roads while realizing that we also want to be, cognizant of our goldenrod and what is going on. And so I just believe that this is a way that we can move forward. We've talked about our highways for a long time. How do we keep up with those? How do we maintain those? They get wear and tear just by daily use of those. And we can't, or by, the department had, talked about how water gets in and will start to deteriorate. And I tell my kids all the time when they make messes with water, water ruins things. The department said, water ruins our roads. We have to maintain it just by the wear and tear and the weather and stuff like that. So I think this amendment moves us forward in the right direction while also being cognizant of what's happening with our little golden paper here. So on and for the amendment.
Thank you. Senator Smith.
Mr. President, I don't know how I'll be on the actual bill, but I'm on for this amendment. I want to commend the good bringer of the bill. You actually put something we can actually hang a hat on the wall on it instead of, hey, we'd like another 70 million a year for our roads because we need them because, roads are important. Yeah, roads are important. And we're, by Constitution, we're obliged to take care of the roads. But there's lots of money out there right now that go to the roads, whether it's federal, whether it's state. There's lots of resources. I in committee, I said, give me some specificity. Like, give me something. Like, what, like, do you need more plow trucks? Is there a particular highway that needs to be redone? This is just, hey, we need another $70 million. Now, I'm not opposed to even that if it could actually be shown, but this bill doesn't do that. This amendment actually gives some direction to those funds. I like that. So thank you very much for bringing this. I'll be on it for it.
Anybody else? Senator Driscoll, for your second time.
Mr. President, thank you for my second time. I love the fiscal hawks in here. It's absolutely incredible what's going on. It's absolutely incredible what's going on. We've got fiscal hawks show up. We're talking about, we can't fund something that's been here since statehood. Highways, they're short, but we're standing up new programs. Just a few short days ago, we stood up a brand new program that's gonna cost 30 to 60 million a year, ongoing. Didn't hear anybody, not a single one, stand up and say, where's the concern for the goldenrod? Where's the concern of where we're at? Now we've got something that actually affects every taxpayer in the state, every taxpayer. And we're saying, let's start, I mean, it'll be a good revenue for us, because when the roads get bad, we'll tear up more cars and they'll buy more cars and we'll get more sales tax income. It'll work really well. And we keep the money off the sales tax and the use tax, and they continue to beat our cars up. Folks, this does not make sense what's going. There is sideboards on it. We have great sideboards on it. And as far as the comment that no one testified to use, I was at the committee meeting. They have books of what there is for use, folks. It's out there. They've prioritized these roads for umpteen years. And we're to the point now, we're getting very close up against it. Anybody that drives back and forth, you all drive across the state, go drive. A couple of the roads I drive on are, the guy that does the self-driving vehicles could probably use them because the ruts are deep enough in the roads, I don't hardly have to put my hand on the steering wheel. That's where we're at. We can do this. We talk about putting sideboards on it and stopping it. Folks, we can take money back anytime we feel like. If you think we're short next year, we come right back a year later and say we're gonna take it back. And we have every ability in the world to do that. Do you know what it takes? A backbone. We actually have to say, look, we're gonna fund this and it matters. We're once again looking at one of our core things, and I'm sitting over here looking at the man from the Ivory Towers. We do really well prioritizing education, and we've done a great job. We continue to fund. But we look at our highway department and says, continue to do more with less. By the way, I do spend a lot of time. I'm not on the transportation committee. Any of you know how we fixed the snow plows, the 15 or so snow plows that got wrecked this year? Do you know how the state deals with it? YDOT fixes their own folks, other than the ones who are told they fix it internally because they aren't set to be able to have the money to buy new and redo it. We're literally gonna get to the point, and we've had some debates on some of the cuts we're doing, what it does to services. Well, you're hearing what happens locally. Well, you're about to hear what happens statewide, because at some point in time, they're liable to tell you, we'll plow for the school bus coming in the morning, but we can't afford to plow after 5 o'clock. We'll wait. This is at that point. I encourage you to reject this. Let's fund them, and let's actually get our priorities straight. If we're actually to the point we're talking about, let's quit standing up new programs, folks. There's more of them coming. Let's quit standing up new ones. Look hard, look internally, and we take care of what constitutionally we're obligated to do. Defeat the amendment.
Okay, let's go to Senator Cole.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I think the last speaker from the Devil's Tower area made some good points. We are where we are, though. Our budget forecast or lack of enough revenue is what it is. I've heard things from the good folks at YDOT that range wildly, 400 million, whatever $1 million short. This amendment is a compromise. This amendment gives us an off-ramp. And yeah, we can change the funding later on if we wanted to. Sure, we can. But let's find out what in the heck we're doing with our budget. Because I'm afraid we are fiscally driving off a cliff. And I can't help things that happened before. I wish the body looked at them differently, but the body's spoken on where we're at today. I think this is a compromise that I can get behind. It does increase funding for YDOT. It's a fact. It does cost us to do it. That's a fact. And we do need to support our highways and roads. That's also a fact. So how do we balance this? I see this as a balance and a compromise on for the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, or President.
Thank you. Senator Smith for your second time.
Mr. President, I just would like to remind everybody, this is the supplemental budget year. And I know there's a lot of opinion on what that means, but the Department of Transportation is not a new program that just came about from a bill. It's something that we do every year. And like I've said before, I have 5 kids. I know Christmas is coming every year. I don't spend all my money in March and then come back because there's no way to come back for more. I know when school starts, don't spend all my money. This is this is something that needs to be planned. You can't just. I feel that this is like a sideswipe. The bringer of this amendment. Hey, if there are issues, let's deal with them. Let's deal with what's critical. Let's deal with roads. Yeah, we need 70 million, and we're going to just use it as we see fit. It just doesn't really fit into the way that I look at things. So on and for this amendment, and thank you to the bringer who brought it.
Thank you. Senator Jones, for your first time.
Mr. President, on and against this amendment, we can budget for everything that we want, but at the end of the day, things happen. We just had a horrific accident in a tunnel that has restricted the flow of traffic between Rock Springs and Green River. It's taking about an hour, folks, to get 18 miles right now. That's the only way to get from Rock Springs to Green River is to get on the interstate. Because of that, there's some unknown fees of who is actually going to pay to fix this tunnel. The federal government, we're not 100% sure that the federal government is going to give us the funds we need. We have two-way traffic going through one tunnel right now. In my opinion, it's dangerous. We had another accident right outside that tunnel this very morning. This is a serious issue, and it's not a budgeted issue. How could anyone budget for this? How can we budget that we might need to repair a whole tunnel? I mean, that's why we need to give them some extra funds. This is important for my corner of the state, but it's important for anybody who uses I-80 right now. On and against this amendment.
Thank you, Senator Jones. Senator Pappas.
Thank you, Mr. President, for my second time. Again, on and against the amendment. I just want to push back a little bit to my good colleague from Laramie County here when he said there was no specificity. Obviously, every project's not going to be put into this bill, but there is specificity. Out of any department, I believe YDOT has oodles of reports. You know, their STIP, everything that they got is out there for you to see. If you want to know the future projects they're planning, it's out there. If you want to know the maintenance that's required, it's out there. I see it every day, every month when I'm at the commission meeting. I recommend that maybe you log in and listen to some of the videos of the past meetings. It's all out there. It's very transparent. The needs are shown and the needs are known. And also to the point of because this is a supplemental budget, well, I have to push back there a little bit as well. YDOT's been asking for money ever since I've got in here because they need these needs, whether it's the budget during the budget session or it's a supplemental budget. They've asked every time that we need to find ways to increase our ability to maintain and actually expand our road system. So it's an ongoing ask. Until we get to the point where we can adequately fund them, the ask is going to be there, whether it's supplemental or whether it's a general budget.
Okay. We are voting on second reading. The sponsor, oh, sorry, I thought the sponsor went. I thought he was the sponsor. You're the sponsor. Senator Salazar had he wished to speak, so I'll recognize Senator Salazar first.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a general comment, although it is related to the amendment. We're talking about how much we're spending here. I will say to the chamber, we've got 2 weeks left. This is going to change, I truly believe, with regard to the spending. But I will say this. You're voting, you're the ones voting on the expenditures. These bills are coming up. So the power is in your hand as well. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Who's talking? Oh, there you are. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Yeah, Mr. President, thank you. When it comes to the issue of a supplemental versus a budget year, when it comes to an individual bill or a committee bill, conversation is really irrelevant, right? We create a budget for a biennium. An individual legislator or a committee can bring forth a bill that has appropriations in it with funding sources that is outside the budget process. It then can become part of that, and that's how that looks. As we know, this past week, we passed out a bill with a $30 million ongoing appropriation in perpetuity out of the general fund with resounding support. So that was an individual sponsored bill that will affect the general fund in perpetuity. Not part of the supplemental budget, not part of the biennium budget, but a separate individual bill. And so that's perfectly proper to do, is to bring forth an individual bill or a committee bill that has appropriations within it. This particular bill obviously has a significant financial impact due to the fact that we are funding the state's highways. So again, that purpose and that issue coming before you now from interim work is certainly appropriate as well. I appreciate the point of inquiry and the point of privilege here, Mr. President, and for the body, but just for clarification on that particular issue.
Thank you, Senator. Anybody else wish to speak before the sponsor goes for a second time? All right, Senator Hicks.
Mr. Chairman, so just to try to address some of the concerns with the amendment, it does increase this YDOT budget $50 million over the next 2 years. $50 million. That's $50 million they didn't have last year. And so it's also got a sunset date, and it's for us to have the opportunity. I'm aware that there's, not talking about other bills, Mr. Chairman, but there's an interim topic in there to look at distribution of sales and use tax. We have another bill that we passed out of here that went in and changed those distributions from 31 and 69% to 35. That has a fiscal impact of about $36 million. But so I understand the need for highways, but I want you to understand what you're doing here. We've had a lot of debate about this. Where do sales and use taxes go, folks? 69% goes to the state of Wyoming. 31% back to your local counties, cities, and towns. And so just leave the bill alone. So I want you to understand the fiscal impact is not to the $250 million that we've already deficit spend, as the colleague from, my friend from the Ivory Towers pointed out yesterday, $250 million deficit spending. So 31% of $71 million in the bill is about $22 million you're going to take away sales and use tax that go back to those local cities and towns and counties. Oh, unless you want to just say we're going to take it all out of the state share. But the distribution on sales and use tax is $31.69. This comes out of those vehicle registrations and those sales taxes are lumped in there. You're saying we're only going to take those out of the vehicles. That still is distributed on that 31.69% ratio. And so, Mr. Chairman, I think the fiscal impact here, I would caution us, let's look at this in the interim, let's move this forward, on and for the amendment. Call for the question.
All right. Question being called, and we're voting on second reading amendment number 1, the House Bill 33. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Let me guess. Appropriation.
Substantial appropriation change.
But I've been told it's a distribution of funds and not an appropriation of funds. You can call for the ayes and noes if you want. Senator Case.
I think we better call for the ayes and noes. We've
All right,
traditionally done that when it involved expenditures, move money around.
Let's do it. Let's do a roll call vote. Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 33, roll call vote. Anderson? No. No. Barlow? Aye. Boner? No. No. Brennan? Aye. Aye. Case? No. Cooper? No. No. Crago? No. No. Crum? No. No. Dockstetter? No. Driscoll? No. French? Aye. Aye. Guru? No. No. Hicks? Aye. Aye. Hutchings? Aye. 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 Jones? No. No. Kolb? Aye. Aye. Landon? No. No. Larson? Aye. Aye. McEwen? Aye. Aye. Nethercott? No. Olson? No. No. Pappas? No. No. Pearson? Aye. Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? No. No. Scott? Aye. Aye. Smith? Aye. Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. Aye. President Beitman?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. On the amendment, 16 aye, 15 no.
Second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 33 has been adopted. We're on second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 33. Will the reading clerk please read it in?
House Bill 33, second reading amendment number 2, page 3, line 6, end.
Senator Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 33. Folks, this just cleans up a little off the last amendment. The way the amendment's done, they can only do brand new construction on highway jobs. So it moved it to flat, which we needed to do. But this inserts operation and it adds construction, operation, and reconstruction. So basically says you can go in and rebuild the highway. You don't have to be laying brand new highway down. Just that simple, just cleans it up, makes it where it's a little more usable. I stand for question, ask for your aye vote.
Any discussion on the amendment? All right, we're voting on second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 33. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The amendment has been adopted. We are on second reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 33. Will the reading clerk please read it in?
House Bill 33, second reading amendment number 3, page 2, line 11, after.
Senator Driscoll.
Mr. President, I would ask for withdrawal of second reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 33.
Absent objection, second reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 33 has been withdrawn. We're back on the bill. Discussion on the bill. Hearing none. Oh, Senator Boner.
Sorry, really quick, Mr. President, just to remind the body, this only deals with the sales and use tax or use tax that goes to the state. We're not affecting local revenue streams. I want to make sure that everybody understands that. I think we may have got a little confused there in the debate. This is only the state side portion.
Thank you, Senator Boner. Anybody else? Okay. House Bill 33, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. House Bill 46, second reading of the House bill.
House Bill 46, Homeschool Freedom Act.
House Bill 46, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. House Bill 97, second reading of the House bill.
House Bill 97, engrossed, property conveyances near critical infrastructure.
There is an amendment. Would the reading clerk please read in the amendment?
House Bill 97, second reading amendment number 1 to the engrossed copy, delete.
Thank you. Senator Nethercott.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 97. Good senators, this is just a technical cleanup amendment from the amendment we passed yesterday. So it's just a technical correction identified by LSO. Ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none. We're voting on second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 97. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those no. The motion carries. Second reading amendment number 1 has been adopted. We're back on the bill. House Bill 97, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. House Bill 116, second reading of the House bill.
House Bill 116, driver's licenses, unauthorized alien restrictions.
House Bill 116, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. House Bill 181, second reading of the House bill.
House Bill 181, engrossed, funeral contracts, investment and bonding requirements.
House Bill 181, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. House Bill 226, second reading of the House bill.
House Bill 226, engrossed, license plate search and rescue council.
House Bill 226, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. House Bill 316, second reading of the House bill.
House Bill 316, engrossed, school finance model recalibration 2.
House Bill 316, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection. Yes. Oops, sorry, let me turn your mic on.
Thank you,
Senator
Mr.
Nethercott.
President. Mr. President, absent objection, I request that House Bill 316 be laid back for one day.
Absent objection, House Bill 316 is laid back one day. Bills on third reading and final passage. Oh, I'm sorry. Senator Case, do you have a privilege of the floor for me?
I do, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Mr. President, I'm not sure if he's still here, but we had in that gallery, he might still be here, I hope he is, John Black, who was our former, very faithful doorman for a long time. And please join me in welcoming him sitting up here.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Case. Senator Barlow.
Thank you, Mr. President. Privilege of the floor.
Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, Mr. President, we have 3 nursing students from Gillette College up here. Please welcome them to the Wyoming Senate.
All right.
Stand up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to the Senate. All right. Now we're ready for third reading here. Looks like a party going on back there at the Majority Leader's desk. Madam Majority Floor Leader, we are in that order of business of bills on third reading. Do you have a consent list?
Mr. President. Mr. President, I move third reading consent list as follows. House Bill 38, ad valorem taxation, payment, and credit of penalties. House Bill 42, regulation of surgical abortions. House Bill 264, central bank digital currencies prohibitions.
Thank you. Would anybody like any bills removed from the consent list? Senator Hicks.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just to verify, I'm assuming I did not hear but correctly, but is House Bill 64 laid back on, it's on consent? Okay, I'll get to that later, Mr. President.
Okay. We've got 3 bills on the consent list. Is there anybody that wishes to remove any of these bills? Okay. Let's see here. Having been read 3 separate times, the question is, shall these bills pass the Senate? House Bill 38, ad valorem taxation payment and credit of penalties. House Bill 42, regulation of surgical abortions. And House Bill 264, central bank digital currencies prohibitions. The chief clerk will call the roll.
On the consent list, Anderson? No. No. Barlow? Aye. Boner? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Aye. Case? Cooper? Aye. Aye. Crago? Aye. Crum? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. French? Aye. Garou? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? Aye. Jones? Aye. Cole? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Olson? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Pearson? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Smith? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. Case? Aye. President Biteman?
Aye.
Aye. On the consent list, 30 aye, 1 no. House Bill 38, are there any changes? Anderson, no to aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 38, 31 aye. House Bill 42, are there any changes? Case, aye to no. Garou, aye to no. Rothfuss, aye to no. Scott, no. Landon, no. Driscoll, no. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 42, 24 aye, 7 no. Excuse me, House Bill 42. 24 aye, 7 no. And finally, House Bill 264. Are there any changes? Anderson, no to aye. Case? Aye to no. Driscoll, aye to no. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 264, 29 aye, 2 no.
Having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the Senate, House Bill 38, ad valorem taxation, payment, and credit of penalties, House Bill 42, regulation of surgical abortions, and House Bill 264, central bank digital currencies prohibitions have passed the Senate. Bills on third reading and final passage. House Bill 39, third reading of the House Bill.
House Bill 39, Property Tax Refund Program Revisions, sponsored by the Revenue Committee, an act relating to property tax.
Discussion on the bill. Okay. Guess we'll vote on it. Having been read 3 separate times, the question is, shall the bill pass? I was wondering why this wasn't on the consent list.
I need some help.
Senator
Mr. President,
Heatherly.
absent objection, I ask that House Bill 39 be laid back for 1 day.
Absent objection, House Bill 39 has been laid back for 1 day. All right. House Bill 64, third reading of the House bill.
House Bill 64 engrossed, Chemical Abortions Ultrasound Requirement, sponsored by Representative Nyman, an act relating to abortions.
Senator Hicks.
Mr. President, absent objection, I would ask that House Bill 64, chemical abortions and ultrasound requirements, be laid back for 1 day.
Okay. Hearing no objection, House Bill 64 is laid back for 1 day. House Bill 172, third reading of the House bill.
House Bill 172, Repeal of Gun-Free Zones and Preemption Amendments, sponsored by Representative Harrelson, an act relating to concealed weapons.
There is an amendment. Would the reading clerk please read in the amendment?
House Bill 172, third reading amendment number 1 to engrossed copy, page 3, line 1, after.
Senator Boner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 172 and ask for the body's favorable consideration. Fellow senators, this amendment deals with the school portion, K through 12 portion of the gun-free zone repeal. Specifically, the change that it makes is it allows your local school board to make the decision as to whether they want to allow the general public to conceal carry on their property or not. What it does not affect is paragraph F, which allows staff to conceal carry, regardless of whether your local board has implemented a policy or not. And so a little bit of background here, Mr. President, the reason why I'm running this is, I had some really dedicated folks back home on local school boards in both districts in Converse County who did some really good work since the last time we were here. They implemented a concealed carry policy for their staff. They were very thorough, they're very detailed, they sought community input. They overall did a very good job. And so when this happens, it is really, at least in the experience that I saw, the local school boards do a very good job. So it's coming from that experience and really a commitment I made to them, Mr. President, that the goal here was to get rid of the gun-free zones, get rid of the soft targets. And with this bill, we do that with the provisions for allowing staff to carry regardless of what the school board does or doesn't do. And so I recognize fully, Mr. President, that I'm just about the only one here on this floor who can sit here and say that my school boards went out and made that change after a similar bill almost became law last year. But I still think it's a broader policy discussion as to what the priority is. Is it to eliminate the gun-free zone? If so, we do that in this bill. This is the only area, K through 12, where we have 2 separate ways in the bill of eliminating the gun-free zone. One with concealed carry for staff, another for the general public. So it's a policy decision for the body, Mr. President. I feel like I was obligated after working with those local school boards to at least offer this as an option for the body as we, whether you vote for it or not for this amendment, we're still eliminating the gun-free zones in K through 12, just a matter of how we go about doing it. So I'll stand for any questions and look forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Senator Boner. Mr. Vice President.
Mr. President, this amendment effectively kills the bill. I'm going to be voting no. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Senator Steinmetz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On and against, let our law-abiding concealed carry permit holders protect our children and their neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Any other discussion? Senator Cole.
Thank you, Mr. President. On and against the amendment. I think, of course, we're making laws for the state of Wyoming and not an individual district. And I'm glad my colleague doesn't have an issue where they live, but that's not uniform across the state of Wyoming. This bill is to basically put doubt in people's head that they can go in there and kill folks within our schools with impunity. This is the unknown that there may be someone in there concealed carrying. If all our school districts stepped up and promulgated rules that make this not a need, we wouldn't be talking about it. So I think this is a critical part of this bill. It's a critical part that we support what the bill is currently and resist this amendment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Kolb. Over to you, Senator Rothfuss.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, on for the amendment, I think it's a reasonable attempt at compromise to recognize that with policies in place already, ensuring that every school has the opportunity to have staff carrying concealed, in addition to the previous policies under statute, you don't have that soft target concern. I don't think this in any way guts the bill. I think it actually just tries to recognize that not everybody's parent wants your parent defending them with a weapon in the school. And allowing the local school board to make that decision based on what their community's interests are, recognizing that we have a diversity of community interests around the state, is an appropriate solution. I think this is a good attempt at compromise, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Rothfuss. Anybody else? Senator Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. President. I totally agree with the good senator from Albany County. I think this is a compromise, and I think that's sometimes what we need to do down here. I voted for this bill once. I voted against it once because I heard from my constituents, the majority of them did not want just any Joe Blow walking in their schools with guns. My district is one of the districts around the state that have gone through the process. They have about 10 teachers that have gone through and done all of the work that they needed to do to become certified. Makes more sense, not only to kids, but our community, that they had public meetings and they had a chance to voice their opinion on this. It takes back to local control. We talk about local control and we use it when we want it, and when we don't want it, we don't use it. And I think we should have some local control with this. I think this amendment makes sense, and I would be happy to vote for it.
Thank you, Senator Schuler. Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. On and against this, if there's anywhere not to compromise, it would be our Second Amendment rights, so let's not compromise. On and against the bill. Thank you.
Anybody else on the amendment? Back to you, Senator Boner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just once again, share some of my observations from when I saw the folks back home going through this process. I saw the fear that they had initially of taking on this policy sort of dissipate as they went through it and did their studies and looked at the data and realized that this isn't quite as scary as it seemed up front. So I hope that, especially with paragraph F in the bill, that will, I think, compel lots of school districts to develop their own concealed carry policy for staff, that this option will be on the table once they get through with that, of allowing the public to conceal carry as well, once they realize that it's not quite as scary as they thought. So I hope you can support the amendment.
All right, we're voting on third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 172. Ayes and nays have been called. Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 172. Anderson? Aye. Barlow? No. Boner? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Craigo? Aye. Crum? Aye. Dockstetter? No. Driscoll? Aye. French?
No.
No. Guru? Aye. Hicks?
No.
No. Hutchings? No. Ide? No. Jones? No. Cole? No. Landon? Aye. Larson? No. McEwen?
No.
No. Nethercott? No. Olson? No. Pappas? Aye. Pearson? No. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? No. Schuler? Aye. Scott? No. Smith? No. Steinmetz? No. President Beitman?
No.
No. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. On the amendment, 13 aye, 18 no.
Third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 72 has failed. We are on third reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 172. Senator Guru.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to adopt third reading.
I'm sorry, can we have it read in, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, can I have it read in, please? Thank you.
House Bill 172, third reading amendment number 2 to engross copy, page 6, line 6, after.
Sorry. Senator Guru, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I urge or move at this time third reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 172 and ask for your favorable consideration. Good members, this amendment actually gives our local K through 12 school districts the right to opt out or to be exempt from this bill if they have already taken advantage of the law that we already gave them back a couple years ago and in section 21-3-132. I put a handout on each of your desks so you can take a look at that. And if just to refresh your memory of what that did, that allows for school districts to do things to make sure that their districts or in their classrooms are safe, that at least 7 school districts, including my own, and I supported this legislation, our school district took advantage of this, and they feel this is working for them. And they are concerned too about some of the more overarching pieces of the current bill that sits before us. So this gives the school districts that have already done it, and gives until 2025, March 1st, for any other school district to opt in, but to have this measure adopted, so this is the way they choose to have local control to allow school districts to have that choice. So I urge your adoption of the amendment. Take a look at that and vote aye. Thank you.
Discussion on the amendment. Senator Cole.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President. Just a question. So will this in fact take away the ability from a concealed carry holder in the state of Wyoming? It's been approved by 3 agencies from concealed carrying on school grounds with this amendment. Is it going to restrict them? Is it going to stop them from doing that? Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Cole. Discussion on the amendment. Senator Steinmetz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On and against. And just want to remind us, Article 1, Section 24, the right of citizens to bear arms in defense of themselves and of the state shall not be denied. On and against, please vote no.
Well, wish to speak on the amendment. Senator Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think the whole idea of this is that of those school districts that we just talked about, that have gone through all the process and all the procedures to be able to allow their teachers to be armed and get trained, it makes them a better option than just Johnny-come-lately walking in the school door. And I think that's what's kind of interesting about this. You know, we haven't had, gun-free zones have been around since, like I said, 1990. It's been a lot of years, and we've done okay. And we've added extra security in every school building. That should probably just about do it, but maybe not quite. Wouldn't it be safer to have those teachers that have been armed and trained and gone through all the procedures that law enforcement have gone through, have them be able to take care of the building's safety with kids that know who they are and they've been trained? And it's, like I said, it's not just somebody walking in that's a concealed carrier that maybe hasn't shot a gun in a long time. those teachers that have been trained, they have to do it, I think it's every other year. I mean, so they're continually being trained, and I don't know about you, but I haven't shot a gun in a long time, especially a pistol. And if I did get a concealed carry permit and was in a building and something happened, I'm not sure who would get shot by me. So I would put my hands, you know, I would much rather put our kids' lives in those hands of those people that have been trained. So I think it's a good amendment. I hope you'll vote for it.
Thank you, Senator Schuler. Back to you, Senator Kolb, for your second time.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. On and against this amendment. It effectively kills the bill once again. It effectively delays what we've tried to do for years, and that is to spread uncertainty amongst people that would take the life of the most innocent among us. That's what we're trying to do here. This merely says, well, trust us, we'll get it done. Trust us, we'll get it done. And the idea that you just walk into it, nobody walks into a school anymore. You can't get in there. They're control access. And the idea that there's some sort of other law enforcement that's nearby, which is probably known by a perpetrator, I might add, if they are nearby, doesn't take away, you know, it doesn't take or help the uncertainty given to a perpetrator that there may be somebody in there. And this is what this bill's trying to do. Nobody in their right mind believes that there's going to be 20 people walking through the halls of a school with a concealed carry permit. It's not going to happen. Just like I'm not going to believe that there's going to be 20 trained people in that school who are willing to get the training and stand up for a perpetrator. Kind of, it's not their bailiwick, as they say. I think we're trying to help the situation. The fact is, signs don't work. If they did, we wouldn't be talking about this. The fact is, the only thing we can do is stand up for our rights. And somebody has gone through the training, and there is training, you just don't do it. There's background checks, you just don't get a concealed carry permit. There's many hurdles. This thing's getting blown up into the point where now just sit back, don't worry about it, we'll take care of it. Well, I'm not willing to sit back anymore to let our younger kids be in jeopardy. So I just don't think this is a good idea. I think it defeats the purpose of the bill. On and against the amendment, Mr. President.
Okay. Anybody else wish to speak? Let's go to Senator Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, or Mr. President. The good speaker just before me made a couple of conflicting statements. Earlier, he said if school districts had adopted the policies that are available, we wouldn't be having this discussion. So what we're doing right now is trying to give them the opportunity to do that one last chance. If they choose not to, this repeal gun-free zones will take effect for them. Secondly, as referred to the signs, on my school building, there's a sign that says, warning. Members of this staff may be armed to protect our students. I think that's a pretty good sign. I think it's pretty direct. It doesn't say gun-free, no gun-free zones or gun-free zone. It says warning. So this is an option for the schools that have stepped up and those that want to step up to opt out of this program. If they choose not to, they don't have to. And also, it doesn't kill the bill. For all the other places that we are asking for gun-free zones to be repealed, that's still in place. So this is strictly for the schools that are willing to step up and do what they think is right for their community.
Thank you, Senator Cooper. Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. On and against this amendment. You know, just because you're local in these local schools doesn't mean that you can trample on individual rights. So on and against this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Ide. Senator Steinmetz, for your first time.
Mr. Chairman, for my second time.
Oh,
Mr.
second?
President.
Okay, sorry, I don't have it.
So 7 out of 48 school districts, that's not very many. And so this is much needed legislation. We've had this discussion many times before, and we passed a good bill out last session. I would encourage us to do it again, and I'd call for the ayes and noes on this amendment.
Ayes and noes have been called. Anybody else wish to speak on the amendment before the sponsor? All right, back to you, Senator Guru, for your second time.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, 7 out of 41 is not very many. So if you pass this amendment, 7 will have an exemption because they took advantage. They took control of the situation. They looked over the situation in their district and they felt that the safety concerns and allowing people to have weapons on their campuses was worth doing. And so they did it. We gave them this opportunity and they took it. Now what this amendment merely does is say those who stood up, who took advantage to make their schools safe, can continue to do so, Mr. President. The other 41 will, if this law, and we know this law is going to pass today, they can take advantage of that more stringent rule, or they feel it less or more. It's kind of subjective. This allows for local control. We talk about it a lot until we don't want to talk about it anymore. But this is a school board, my school board. Like I say, I voted for this legislation when it was here. Don't usually vote for these, but this one made sense to me because we have two schools in our district that are at least 40 minutes away from help should an active shooter arrive. So we wanted to make sure our schools were safe. They did so. By the tools that we gave them, that this legislature gave. I was proud of that. This doesn't change that bill. I don't think it subverts this bill. All you have to do is read this. I would encourage everyone to read this because I think from some of the comments that I heard from previous speakers, it hasn't been. I urge you to adopt this amendment for 2 reasons. One, it continues to at least give a thread of violations to local control. That we can say, districts, we do understand that you're taking advantage of the tools we're giving you. And for the other districts, they've got until March to do it one way, or they'll have another opportunity with a new bill. It allows for choice. Those are the reasons to vote for this. On and for. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Grew. We're voting on third reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 172. The ayes and noes have been called. The chief clerk will call the roll.
House Bill 117, third reading amendment number 2, roll call. Anderson? I'm sorry, House Bill 172, third reading amendment number 2. Anderson? Aye. Barlow? No. Boner? Aye. Brennan? No. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Crago? No. Crum? No. Dockstetter? No. Driscoll? Aye. French? No. Guru? Aye. Hicks? No. Hutchings? No. Ide? No. Jones? No. Kolb? No. Landon? No. Larson? No. McEwen? No. Nethercott? No. Olson? No. Pappas? No. Pearson? No. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? No. Schuler? Aye. Scott? No. Smith? No. Steinmetz? No. President Beitman?
No.
No. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 172, Amendment number 3, 8 aye, 23 no.
Third reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 172 has failed. We are on third reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 172. Will the reading clerk please read it in?
House Bill 172, third reading amendment number 3 to engrossed copy, page 7 after line 12, insert.
Thank you. Senator Steinmetz.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've moved third reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 172 and ask for your favorable consideration. Fellow senators, this is just clarifying languages to clarify a governmental entity means the University of Wyoming and the local governments and the state. That's all it does is clarify that language, so I'd ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Senator. Any discussion on the amendment? Senator Landon.
Yeah, Mr. President, thank you. I know we're wanting to finish up, but why is this not a more comprehensive list? Maybe I'm just missing something. Feels like maybe that misses some folks.
Thank you, Senator Landon. Anybody else before the sponsor? So let's go. I see Jones and Rothfuss. Let's go to Jones first.
Mr. President, I think I had a couple questions the other day on this bill, and I was just wondering if we have any answers on that, about who can ask to see someone's concealed carry permit, and if they don't have one, what the ramifications are, and... Oh, sorry,
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
point of order. It sounds like we're not on the amendment. Is that your point, Senator Hicks? Thank you. Okay. Senator Jones, we'll get back to you on that when we get back on the bill. Senator Rothfuss.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this is a little different definition than we're used to, and I guess I would question why. When you refer to the state, almost everything is part of the state, a political subdivision of the state. Even cities, towns, and counties are political subdivision of the state. Universities typically seen as the state, local governments, even special districts. You know, your irrigation district is potentially deemed that way also. I don't know, Mr. President, candidly, that this definition provides me with a better understanding than if the definition weren't there. It seems almost more vague. So I guess I would ask, where did this particular definition come from? There are other definitions we've seen in statute that are typically exhaustive. And is it the intent, for example, to include or exclude our special districts? As a good example, would the weed and pest district be required to follow this statute or not, or fall into this category? I just don't see any clarity here. Again, I'm not in love with the bill, but just from a construction standpoint, I don't know that this provides clarity.
Thank you, Senator Rothfuss. Thought I saw more people jumping up before. Okay, looks like they got cold feet. Senator Steinmetz, back to you for your second time.
Thank you, Mr. President. It just brings us back to the Governmental Claims Act and the definition there. And it was just a cleanup that staff recommended that would help the bill. So that's the information I have on it. And so I'd ask you to vote aye and trust our good legal minds.
All right. We're voting on third reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 172. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no? Very enthusiastic bunch here. I'm going to have a standing division. All those in favor, please stand. Aye. Okay. The amendment has been adopted. We are back on the bill. Senator Steinmetz.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for the good senator behind me for reminding me of that question. So the procedure would be, as I understand it, that if that were the case, they would report it to law enforcement, and law enforcement would take care of that if there were a violation of this.
Thank you, Senator Steinmetz. Anybody else wish to speak on the bill? Getting hangry. Okay. Question being called. House Bill 172, having been read 3 separate times. The question is, shall the bill pass? The chief clerk will call the roll.
Third reading roll call, House Bill 172. Anderson? No. Barlow? Aye. Boner? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? No. Cooper? Aye. Crago? Aye. Crum. Aye. Dockstader. Aye. Driscoll. Aye. French. Aye. Guru. No. Hicks. Aye. Hutchings. Aye. Ide. Aye. Jones. Aye. Cole. Aye. Landon. Aye. Larson. Aye. McEwen. Aye. Nethercott. Aye. Olson. Aye. Pappas. No. Pearson. Aye. Rothfuss. No. Salazar. Aye. Schuler. No. Scott. Aye. Smith. Aye. Steinmetz. Aye. President Beitman.
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 172, 25 aye, 6 no.
House Bill 172, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the Senate, House Bill 172 has passed the Senate. House Bill 234, third reading of the House Bill.
House Bill 234, Second Amendment Financial Privacy Act Amendment, sponsored by Representative Allemond, an act relating to the protection of constitutional rights.
House Bill 234. Any discussion on the bill? Senator Larson.
Mr. President, thank you. On the bill, against the bill, I think we did a very good job last year concerning this. It deals with merchant category codes. Merchant category codes refer to a store. They don't refer to what you're buying in the store. And we passed law last year that said we couldn't refer to a gun store through merchant category codes. So this isn't needed, and I would urge a no vote.
Thank you, Senator Larson. Senator Nethercott.
Thank you, Mr. President. On and against the bill, good senators. As the good senator in front of me indicated, we passed a far superior bill on this topic last year. And this bill, I appreciate its efforts, I think actually harms that particular legislation and law further by further complicating the issue. It's duplicative, and I think creates weaknesses in the law that can be challenged, and jeopardizes the law that we passed last year. So on and against the bill, again, appreciate the effort. We voted it out of this body last year, so I think all of us can stand by our support of this issue and understand the challenges to our firearms industry with this type of practice, but we have those appropriate protections currently in place, and I think this bill actually weakens those protections.
Thank you. Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Good comments from my colleagues. Hate to push back. Good senator to the right of me did have a good bill, but with my discussions with the bringer of the bill, and he'd convinced me that it does put some more teeth into this to enforce it. And so keep that in mind on your vote here, because I think the enforcements maybe are legitimate here in this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Ide. Senator Landon.
Mr. President, thank you. Just standing in support of the senator from Park County who worked this issue last year. We've been all through this. We passed good legislation. I don't see any need for this legislation, and I'm going to support what we did a year ago. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Further discussion on the bill? Question being called. House Bill 234 having been read 3 separate times. The question is, shall the bill pass? The chief clerk will call the roll.
House Bill 234, third reading roll call. Anderson? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Boner? Aye. Brennan? No. No. Case? No. Cooper? No. Craigo? No. Crum? Aye. Dockstader? Aye. Driscoll? No. French? Aye. Guru? No. Hicks? No. Hutchings? No. Ide? Aye. Jones? No. Cole? No. Landon? No. Larson? No. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? No. Olson? No. No. Pappas? No. Pearson? Aye. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? No. Scott? Aye. Smith? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Beitman?
No.
No. Closing vote? Hicks? No to aye. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 234, 14 aye, 17 no.
House Bill 234, having failed to receive the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the Senate, House Bill 234 has failed to pass the Senate. Signing of enrolled acts. Oh, shoot. Enrolled Act, House Enrolled Act number 22.
House Enrolled Act 22, being original House Bill 132, annual permits for specified commercial loads, an act relating to motor vehicles.
I'm about to sign House Enrolled Act number 22, being original House Bill 132. I have so signed. House Joint Resolution 1. Oops, House Enrolled Joint Resolution number 1.
House Enrolled Joint Resolution Number 1, being original House Joint Resolution 1. All lands herein granted for educational purposes shall be disposed of only at public sale, the proceeds to constitute a permanent school fund, the earnings of which only shall be expended in support of said schools.
Sorry, Randy, I got it all mixed up there. I'm about to sign Enrolled Joint Resolution 1 of the House of Representatives, being original House Joint Resolution 1. I have so signed. Appointment of Conference Committee. Regarding House Bill 199, Joint Conference Committee number 1 will be Senator Olson Chair, Senators Brennan and Schuler. All right, Madam Majority Floor Leader, that finally clears the desk.
Mr. President, due to the time, it's 12:20, Senators. Second and third reading took substantially longer than normal today. I doubt we'll be out early for your Friday afternoon as a reminder of that. So good, Mr. President, I move that we stand recessed until 2:30.
Recess till 2:30. Any announcements? Senator Barlow.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, your committee number 10, Labor, Health, Social Services, will meet at 1:45 to 12:45 to hear 3 bills in W110, House Bill 121, Hospital Pricing Transparency, House Bill 188, 2 Families, 1 Nanny, House Bill 103, Columbarium Regulation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chairman Barlow. Chairman Anderson. what's going on
Mr.
in
Chairman,
yours?
for your favorite committee for Friday, February 21st, we'll meet about 12:45 at Capital Extension Room 4 and online, and we'll probably hear House Bill 202 Engross Fast Track Permits Act, possibly House Bill 209 Carbon Capture Mandate Repeal, and maybe not House Bill 81 Engrossed Regulatory Reduction Mortgage Loan Licensing. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Anderson. Chairman McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your committee number 3, Revenue, will meet at 12:40 in Extension Room 6 to take up House Bill 282, Engrossed Property Tax Acquisition Value, House Bill 123, Engrossed Adverse Possession Property Tax Payment Defense. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. President. Education Committee number 4 will be back on task Monday morning at 7:30, not 8, 7:30 o'clock in room 110. We'll continue with House Bill 36 engrossed Hathaway Scholarship Amendments, and then we'll take on House Bill 20, K through 12, School Facility Leasing, House Bill 94, Charter School Authorization Amendments, and House Bill 148, University of Wyoming Governance, Elected Trustees.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman Olson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your committee number 1 judiciary will meet at 12:45 to consider in W002 to consider two bills, House Bill 207, Religious Freedom Restoration Act, and House Bill 125, Repeal Unauthorized Use of Vehicle Credit.
Thank you, Chairman. Any other announcements? Vice President Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Appropriations will be meeting at 12:45 in room 113. We'll be dealing with House Bill 235, Career Technical Education Equipment and Supplies.
Thank you. Any other announcements? You heard the majority floor leader's motion. All in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries. The Senate will stand recessed till 2:30 p.m.